last, at long, long last, Newcastle United are winners. The Geordie nation has its hands on a trophy. Eddie Howe can walk on the River Tyne. 56 years since the last time. 7 long decades since last. They painted Wembley black and white. The curse is broken. The famine is at an end.
What an incredible season it's been for Newcastle United, qualifying for the Champions League and winning the League Cup, the first domestic trophy in 70 years. Today, in this documentary, we're going to relive that moment, the whole week leading up to the Carabao Cup and the moment after with the trophy celebrations and the parade. We are talking to 3 key personnel today. Current writer of the Chronicle, Andrew Musgrove, former presenter, Jonny Greenwood, and current presenter of Newcastle Fans TV, Joe Kenja. First up, let's talk about that week leading up to Cup Final week.
Confidence. I was fully confident that Newcastle United were going to end that 70-year wait for domestic trophy. I'd been confident since the semi-final draw, and even if you look back on the podcast, I was kind of confident after they beat Wimbledon up here at St James's Park that they were at least going to get to Wembley. But once they drew Arsenal, I said they're getting to the final and they're going to win it.
Cup Final week, I think it was a bit of an element of what's going to happen, what is going to happen, and it started on that Monday night against West Ham because we're in a bit of a slump going into that game. But the West Ham game was so crucial to the Sunday. We got the result. It wasn't the prettiest of performances, but the result was so important because it gave us the momentum going into Sunday. And from that day on, each day came about. Liverpool losing against Paris Saint-Germain on penalties in the Champions League. It was thinking, well, actually, has the tide just turned in Newcastle United's favour? And by the end of the week, I thought, do you know what? We're not the favourites, but game on. We've got a chance of bringing this trophy home back to St James's Park. But ultimately, I was pretty calm and relaxed because we had the experience of a couple of years ago, which, was tough to take. But we were ready for it this time round.
Well, we went through a few different nerves when I was leading up the Cup Final week. It was like, at first it started out, I was very excited for the day. I was like, yeah, we can do this. Then it got to the day before and I was just full of, I think the best way to describe it would be I was very trepidatious of the day and the actual match itself. Like, how is this going to go? This could be the same as 2 years ago. This could be the moment. Could this happen? And I started believing it. And I started convincing myself Jacob Murphy was going to score. And it just felt this could be it.
Now let's talk about those 2 goals with Dan Burn and Alexander Isak as fans went nuts at Wembley.
Was there a man for whom it was so obviously written? Now they're believing! The Geordie nation euphoric! It just might be happening!
That's not easy. That ball bounces a good yard in front of Isak, but he swoops it into the net. What a finish.
It's hard to put into words. I jumped out of my seat, which of course in a press box you're not meant to do, and I quickly had to kind of refocus and restrain myself. It was just pure elation because we've been at Wembley so many times and hadn't seen a goal, let alone a victory. So when Dan Burn put that in the back of the net, and for it to be Dan Burn as well, and his journey and his story, and what a header as well. That's the best header I've seen from a Newcastle United player. It was just pure, just elation and joy. And then when Alexander Isak put that in the back of the net, I knew there and then that it was coming home, and I felt a little bit relaxed, to be quite honest, after that.
The first goal was a shock. We've never experienced a Wembley goal, and it was just shock. It was like, wow, we're ahead. You just didn't know what to do. It was different to all the away games I've done in the sense that you score, you're like, get in, we're winning. And sometimes maybe when under the previous ownership it was like, oh my God, we're winning away from home. Well, this time it was, we're winning in a cup final against Liverpool, and Dan Burn from Blythe has put Newcastle ahead with a header. It was an unbelievable feeling. It was just an incredible, incredible moment. And there was tears at that moment with the guy sitting next to me. I was just in ultimate shock. It was mental. The second goal, it was almost like a realization of, oh my God, we're going to win this. Alexander Isak is the best striker on the planet right now. And it was a hell of a finish. I was right in front of it. And I was thinking, this could be our moment. This is probably going to be the moment. And I'm here to say it. And I felt so fortunate.
Isak's was the winner, yes. But Dan Burns going in, seeing that goal, I mean, I had a few people who said to us, Dan Burns going to go score. My phone's going wild. I'm seeing him jump up. He bangs the header. And I'm like, from that range, really? And it hits. And it goes in, and it just, the way it goes in, when it goes in, I'm jumping, me and my brother are absolutely bouncing all over the sitting room. It's Dan Burn, you're singing his song, and then the Isak goal goes in, and we're 2-0 up. And you're like, this is it. The way he finishes the goal, the way he does it, it wasn't just a fluke, it wasn't just something easy, it was something phenomenal. You know it was something special, and it just solidified that moment of, this is happening. Thank you very much, Alexander Isak.
Now, I don't know about yous, but Newcastle dominated, and I was actually shocked inside Wembley. Let's ask the boys how they felt.
Yeah, to a degree, but we know how hard Eddie Howe works those players, and we know how meticulous he is in planning. So, to a degree, yes, but on the other hand, no, because we know Eddie Howe, it works so hard with the players to get them to that level and to nullify Liverpool's threat. Yes, Liverpool, you could argue maybe didn't turn up, but I'm not having that. Newcastle United made them look a poor side. Newcastle United dominated them, and Newcastle United were the reason that Liverpool weren't allowed to express themselves and play in the way we know they can. So yes, to a certain degree surprised, but when you think about how well Eddie Howe works with his staff and with his players, no.
It was comfortable until Liverpool scored, wasn't it? And when Liverpool did score, the last 6-7 minutes felt like 60, 70 years. It was almost, your mind was playing tricks, you're thinking of all those near misses. And now, you just couldn't believe we'd done it. And obviously the first 94 minutes, we were thinking, actually, the game plan's been excellent. Newcastle looked like a different team almost. It's un-Newcastle what they did at Wembley on that Sunday afternoon. But from every single player, they were on it. The defence was on it. The midfield were battling, and the forwards took the chances. And at the end of the day, that's what was the difference in the end. We took our chances early on, and it meant that even though Liverpool did score to make it 2-1, we'd just done enough, and we deserved the win that day.
Look, a lot of people talk about Liverpool fans themselves saying they didn't show up on the day, which is all well and good. I know, fair enough, Liverpool didn't really show up on the day, but I'm surprised at how calm, how reserved, how well the lads handled every pass, every challenge, every single movement on the pitch. It was so fluent and it was so calm. It shocked me. I expected a really hard fight against Liverpool, and we just didn't get it, and I'm happy about that.
For a Wembley moment like this, 70 years, a whole Geordie lifetime, since a Scottish wing half called Jimmy Schooler was handed the cup by the Queen, and now a big broad boy from Blythe scores a goal, and Newcastle United are winners again. He could reach up and touch the Wembley arch, and there's the man whose privilege it is. Kieran Trippier, captain when they lost a couple of years ago, but ready to share the moment. A winner's medal, and behind him the trophy.
I'm delighted for Eddie Howe, I really am.
For the first time since forever, in glorious black and white, the winners are Newcastle United. Newcastle's day, and boy is this going to be Newcastle's night.
So at full time, there was people crying around me left, right and centre. I was hugging strangers. I wonder what these guys felt. From a writer's perspective, a fan's perspective, who was inside the ground, Jonny himself, and also Joe, who was back up here at St James's Park.
I cried quite a bit. It was difficult, it was, but then I think that gave a little bit of an added special moment to our coverage, because people could see that I was genuine, and I'm a Newcastle United fan before I am a journalist, but at the same time I've got to be professional. And you know, at full time I could feel myself going, but I didn't, because I had a job to do. I had to go and get the players coming up the steps, getting the trophy, and the players going back down, and I had to be there to film that. and film them, parading on the pitch. And then when we sat down about half an hour after the full-time whistle to do a piece to camera, that's when the tears started rolling. I tried my best to control myself, but I just couldn't. But I had to be professional in the moments after the final whistle, because I had to be there to bring those scenes to people who couldn't be there, because there were so many people who across the world wanted to be there and weren't there in person, so that I had to make sure that I was doing the best job possible for those people.
Covering it for Newcastle Fans TV, it was great because we had our little moment in the sense that I saw you at the top of Wembley steps, gave you a big bear hug, and we walked out and we saw our friends and we saw Sam, and I know you captured the moment with Sam and I having a hug, but it was you couldn't describe it. It was undescribable, that moment, because it was a little bit of relief, but it was just pure joy, pure joy. And we did the last word after. We did videos throughout the whole weekend, but that last word will stay with me in the memory for a long, long time. Outside Wembley Way, black and white on the top of Wembley Way, everyone joyous, everyone just wanted to get involved in some way, but we all had our moment, kind of go, this is what it means to us, this is what it means to me, this is what it means to you, Lee, this is what it means to you, Sam. And it was just amazing to hear everybody's reflections on it.
There's a magical moment where I got off at St James's Metro. Me and my brother walked up to the top of St James's Metro, cans in hand, elation in my eyes, feeling just fantastic. And I get to the top and I see my cousin's boyfriend, and we lock eyes of each other, and we just see each other's name. He's like, Joe. I'm like, John. And we just hug, and it's both of us looking at each other like, is this real? It's almost like we've walked into a dream and we're seeing each other in a dream. That was what it felt like. And then to turn and to see there was people leaving the stadium, there was people coming to the stadium, there was people just gathering, meeting friends, there was people just shouting chants at each other, and everyone was full of joy. Everyone's got the cans, everyone's walking along and holding on to each other, everyone's looking, smiling, partying. It's one of those where you say, you go to a party and it's like Newcastle's just won a cup. It was going to that party. Walking out, the flags were up on the side, you had people up on Shearer's shoulder. It was just mental. The Strawberry, there were so many people around the Strawberry. I bumped into Liam, bumped into Josh, both of them lads, they were absolutely bouncing. It was magical. You felt like everyone there was your brother, was your sister, was your father, was your uncle, was your auntie, everyone was family for that moment. And it was just a big, massive reunion where I've never been to a family party like that, to be fair. It was something else. Wall to wall, noise, everywhere you could think of. It was just magical. And the police were absolutely phenomenal, getting pictures with fans, making sure people weren't even bothering people. They were just checking things are all right. They were happy, they were buzzing, they want this for the city, everyone wants this. The whole night was it was surreal. It was literally like a dream, and there's no other way to describe it. It was just magical.
Not what we expected at the start of the day, but those Newcastle fans, I drove up this morning, thousands of them on the motorway, taking them 5 and 6 hours to get here, and their dreams have come true.
Well, Mark, for how many years, for our lifetimes, we have asked ourselves the question rhetorically and out loud, what will it be like when Newcastle finally win one? We're finding out.
I went into the stand after the players had collected the trophy, and we were just interviewing people, small vox pops. How were you feeling after watching that? How do you feel? And people were only able to give me 1 or 2 word answers because they were fighting back the tears. And to see grown men, like my dad tearing up as well down at Wembley, it's hard to pick a sentence to describe that feeling. And it's not lost on me how lucky I am to do it as a job as well, by the way. Don't allow yourself to think that I'm sitting there and not realising that loads of people would give anything to be in my position. So I'm aware of my privilege, so to speak.
How many grown men did you see cry in that stadium? The old cliche, men don't cry. Well, they do when they see Newcastle United win a trophy for the first time in 70 years. It was an incredible moment of history and of this wonderful football club. And, the players you could tell what it meant, maybe to the players that have just started the journey. And I mean that in the sense into takeover, the likes of Bruno. This is what they were kind of promised. You come here, you do well here, you become a legend. And, that was what his passionate speech was. You become a legend if you can get the first piece of silverware, and he was the captain to do so. I think of the players like Dan Burn, Lewis Miley, Sean Longstaff, maybe not all of them played, but Geordie's in the squad. Geordie's getting the goals. And it was just great to see so many smiling faces. Every player played their part, whether that be in the final or the second round or the quarterfinals. They all played their part, and that is why Newcastle United were successful in that competition.
Honestly, seeing that on TV, it's the one that got me probably the most was, and everyone talks about it, Bruno's interview. Like the fans deserve this, everyone deserves this. He's crying his eyes out. It's like a boyhood dream. You would think he grew up in Wallsend, in North Shields or something, and he's finally saying what he wants. And Eddie Howe having emotion in his face. I cannot get over that from the final to the parade to everything. I've seen when he talks about winning that cup, he's full of emotion, and that's not like Eddie Howe. He's a very calm and reserved man. So to stand there seeing him emotional, how much it's hit him, how much it's hit every fan. There's fans there you see in the stands who are bawling their eyes out, hugging each other. They probably don't even know each other, and they're hugging each other. And it was just something that you could literally, it's not something that I often see, but you could feel the emotion through the TV. It was unbelievable.
Every few years, it's a lot for these fans. They deserve everything. When I first came here, I said, I want to put my name in the club's history. And that's it. After 73 years, we can now say we are the champions again. The fans deserve everything. It's one of the best days of my life.
They had already taken you to their hearts, but look behind you. Look at what you've done for them.
I don't have any words. It's one of the best days of my life. They deserve it. I said, for them, this is like the World Cup, People's died, people's growing up, and they have not seen Newcastle champions, and now they are seeing, we are here to make history. I'm very happy. My first year as a captain of this club, and this is one of the best days. The team, the fans, the owners, we deserve this, man. We deserve. Look at this. This is unbelievable.
Now, a bit of negativity for you. What about these people that were calling the trophy cup Mickey Mouse, or the celebrations? Look at all them idiots that are out there celebrating. Even I was laughed at. I had a former Manchester United midfielder laughing at the idea that Eddie Howe should be recognised.
I don't get it whatsoever. I mean, what right do those people have to be the celebration police? This is our club, and it's our right to decide how we celebrate. 70 years since the last domestic trophy, and then we've got to go back to 1969 since the last time they won a major piece of silverware. Who is anybody, especially people from outside the area, to tell us how to celebrate? I couldn't care less what they think, to be quite honest. If they want to have those opinions, that's up to them. Part of me think that it is just to get the clicks, and we're not going to mention any names, of course, but I think certain people say certain things because they know it's going to get the reaction, and they know as a fan base and as journalists as well, because we write it up as Chronicle and we will do videos on it, that we will react to it and we will fight our corner. But that's because we're passionate about it. But yeah, being that way about people celebrating, you just get a life, man.
That's a Mickey Mouse Cup. Why bother entering? At the end of the day, I think, yes, Manchester City, Liverpool, Manchester United probably won the trophy the most amount of times. They don't get tired of not winning it. We saw the scenes the year before when Liverpool won it. We saw the scenes when Manchester City won it 4 years on the trot. You've got to have that moment in Newcastle. It could have been anything, let's be honest. If it was the FA Cup, the League Cup, the Premier League, the Champions League, Newcastle fans probably would have reacted the same way. And because it was that first trophy, it'll be a bit different now. And hopefully we'll get to see Newcastle win more trophies. But that first one was so important because it's the start. It's the start of the journey. How many times did you hear that after the game? Alexander Isak in particular, it's the start of the journey. This is the start of what this is going to be in terms of how regular this could be. And look, it was a statement in the sense that, we've seen teams like Aston Villa, Everton, Leeds, Spurs, West Ham. West Ham won the Conference League a couple of years ago. That was their moment. Newcastle got their moment. There's still clubs waiting for their moment because they've been waiting decades for a trophy. We're not anymore.
I would love to see some of the people who are taking the mick out of it win the cup. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a one of those where, how are you going to celebrate? I get it for the likes of a Man City, or maybe it's even a Liverpool. Winning the Carabao Cup isn't everything, but something that I've said from the very start, if you're going to do the English treble, is the Carabao Cup not involved? Yes, it is. Therefore, it's no Mickey Mouse Cup. It's a big trophy that is sought after by many teams in England. There's probably less teams who are not bothered by it than teams who are bothered by it. So as for that one, I think it's a lot of fans who are just bitter and jealous of what we've got in the North East and how much everyone comes together and celebrates something like that. Can you imagine we're winning the Champions League?
The cheers you can hear are because the pictures you are seeing, the Newcastle fans are seeing as well. So they saw the engraver Les putting Newcastle United onto the trophy. They see Dan Burn holding up his winners 25 shirt. It's got Sam Fender written underneath as well. They are seeing exactly what people are seeing at home.
Yeah, no, fantastic. You know, they've waited a long, long time. And we spoke about at the start of the show, 70 years since they last tasted victory here at Wembley, and you know, they're going to enjoy this. They're going to stay here. I don't think we'll get out of Wembley tonight. I'm not sure we'll get out of London tonight, but you know, they deserve their celebrations today.
So we won the cup, the scenes were unbelievable, but we knew that there was a parade coming. The scenes just outside of St James's Park were absolutely breathtaking. The scenes at the Toon were absolutely incredible. Andrew, Johnny, Joe, talk to me about those scenes.
I knew it would be absolutely crazy because I'd spoken about how they would have to shut the city down. It'd be the biggest party we've ever seen on Tyneside, but I did not expect to see 300,000 people out celebrating on Saturday. It was something special and something that will just stay with me forever, I think. You know, lines and lines of people of all ages just coming out to celebrate this momentous moment, and just to see them passing for like 15-20 seconds, that's all it was. And yet they were standing there from the early hours of the morning, you know, queuing, getting their position, just to see the bus for a matter of moments. And it just sums up how they feel about this club and these players, and you know, the joy of watching them win something, and then the joy of seeing it being paraded down the streets here. There were so many moments you could pick that stood out. You got Bill on top of the Irish centre. You got Eddie Howe really fist pumping the air and letting himself get really emotional. You've got the bus coming round Gallagher there onto Percy Street, and the view from our office, and just the lines of people. I mean, just thinking about it now, it warms you. It does.
I didn't know what to expect. I couldn't put a number on. The actual parade surprised me of just the absolute volume of numbers. We lost connection in terms of on our phone, so we couldn't really see much in terms of what was actually actually on the steps of St James's Park. I was actually near the university in terms of the dual carriageway underneath, and I got a fantastic moment. You know, that couple of minutes where I'm just seeing all the players on the team bus. It was incredible, but to see the volume of people just wanting to say thank you, well done, congratulations, we've done it, was absolutely incredible. The parade will stick with me. The Townmoor event, you know, it was good, but it wasn't the parade. The parade for me was outstanding. It really, really was, and I want more parades. I want more.
I expect to see a lot of people, but to see and to know that there was over 350,000 people between the moor and lining these streets in Newcastle, I didn't expect that. I did not. I remember the scenes of the takeover, and do you know what it is? It dwarfed the takeover. It made the takeover celebrations look minimal, and that just proves what it means to this city. It was phenomenal to see everyone packed out. I mean, we got to a point on the Town Moor where, yeah, do you want to go to the toilet? There's no point because you're going to lose your place because there's that many people. It was insane, and everyone was in good spirits. What more could you ask for?
So here we are at my turnstile number 54, and there's no doubt about it. Me personally, covering Newcastle United the last few years has been wonderful as a fan channel. Is it the same for the other two lads? And is it also the same for Andrew from the Chronicle's point of view? Has to be, surely.
Without a shadow of a doubt, it really has, because I know a lot of people think that, you know, we can be negative and that maybe sells papers or gets clicks, but it doesn't. Everybody wants to see a successful Newcastle United, because the more successful Newcastle United are, the easier our jobs are, because people want to speak to you. You know, the feeling around the club is better, And that's what sells papers. I mean, our front pages from the last 2 weeks have been so popular. Our special pull-out, so popular because people want that bit of history, and that's been really nice to see. And I think our coverage has been really good. But in terms of me, from a personal point of view, has this been the best time to cover Newcastle United? It's not even a question. Of course it has. I mean, to see them win a cup, I can retire now. I've seen them win a cup.
It's funny because you look back since the takeover. I remember the first few weeks and months of the takeover. Newcastle weren't getting the results. There was so much positivity, and I would say for 99.9% of the time, there's been so much positivity covering Newcastle United. It's been a pleasure covering Newcastle United in the smallest way. And I would say, I don't know, getting to the Champions League was up there. Beating Paris Saint-Germain 4-1 was up there. I think this probably does just about become the best because it's the first trophy. It's what we've been craving for. And to get that monkey off our back and to see so many joyous faces in Newcastle, in London, on the train, in the pubs and the clubs, it was just incredible. It was just a moment in history, and covering it in the smallest way possible was absolutely extraordinary. And we'll never forget it. We'll never forget it.
It's one of those where you've got to stretch for more words, but the top and bottom of it, of course it is. What content creator isn't going to be loving doing anything round here at the moment? You talk to any fan right now, whether you've got a microphone or not, you talk to any fan out right now, they're full of elation, they're full of joy, they're full of pride. It's one of those where you're capturing the emotions of people, you're capturing the moments that people have felt and wanted for ages, and you get to do that, and something that I don't think many people see with a content creator. We go out and we talk to them people face to face, and then we get to go home and re-watch that footage and catch things that we might miss. Little bits of flickers in the eyes, that little shine of a tear, things like that. It is magical, and it's hard for the feelings of everyone else not to resonate. So I think right now, covering Newcastle United is probably one of the best roles that you could do for emotional satisfaction.
So just behind me a few years ago, me and Johnny filmed around here where the takeover was announced, and there was just cans, #cans all over the place. Have the owners finally delivered that we've got the trophy, or is there more to be done at the club?
Oh, that is a great question, Lee. I'm going to say no, because it's a long-term project. This can't be the last. And when you saw the chairman on the pitch at Wembley and he's saying, this won't be the last, I believe him, because they've got a plan and they know what they want to do. Of course, PSR and the restrictions don't help, but there's a plan there, and there's a real desire and hope and ambition there to make sure that this isn't the last, that this is the first of many. So we have to hope that is the case. But I don't think they would accept me saying yes, that they've delivered, because I don't think they want this to be the last trophy in a generation. They want this to be the first. So until we win another and another and another, and it's success on a consistent basis, and we apply that to getting into the Champions League every year as well, I think then you can say the ownership is delivered. But I think you've got to ask that question maybe in 6 or 7 years' time to really be able to answer it honestly.
They're delivering. They've delivered the first part of what they said they could do, and that was get Newcastle United back into the top table of football in terms of Champions League. They've delivered in terms of getting that first trophy. But I think the ownership will say they'll fully have delivered when Newcastle win a Premier League or a Champions League, because that's probably their ambition. They want to be number one in England and number one in Europe. And, there's still a long, long way to getting there. But I think if you're asking Newcastle fans right now, have they delivered? I think from a fan's perspective, yes, they have, because we've got the trophy. From their own minds, they're probably thinking, not just yet. Not just yet. If they get a Premier League or a Champions League, which I can't believe I'm saying that right now, we could be in a title race next year. Who knows? We might not be. But if we can get onto the path of being in a title race next year, or being in the conversation, and then the year after that, we're right in it, that's when they'll say they've delivered. They may even say we've delivered if they get a new stadium with a Premier League trophy or FA Cup or whatever it may be. But there's so many different questions of how they'll think they've delivered, because I think the fan and myself, because we've got that first trophy, it has been delivered.
Again, it goes back to the content creator question. Try and find more words on it, but how can you say they haven't? What was it, 5 years? What are we in? Year 4? Year 3, year 4? And we've already got a trophy. We've already been in the Champions League. We've already brought in world-class players that the best clubs in the world want hold of. These owners have delivered, and anyone who says they haven't is, quite frankly, delusional, if you ask me. They can't see what's happening. if there's anyone still out there doubting Eddie Howe, the owners brought him in for a reason, and he delivered that reason and then some, and he's still delivering now. These owners are the best thing not just to happen to the club, but to the city as well.
They've had a lot of pain, they've had to really suffer, they've been at Wembley many times and things haven't gotten their way, not performed at this level. I think Shay said it right at the start of the show, he said it just feels different this time. 2 years ago they were here, it was almost like they were making up the numbers, but from minute one, I remember Bruno Guimaraes running onto the pitch before the game started. I was like, wow, he means business, and so did his team. They won every second ball, they were much better in possession, they got all the right details of the set pieces, they exploited Liverpool's weaknesses, and they were fantastic today. I must admit, so you have to congratulate them.
Did it surprise you? I mean, Jamie Carragher said they battered Liverpool today. Did it surprise you how dominant they were for large periods of that game?
I think the energy levels seemed to be higher than Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool had extra time midweek at Paris Saint-Germain. I was saying to Jamie off air, I was surprised that Arne Slot didn't change it against Southampton between the two Paris Saint-Germain games to freshen his squad up. They did look a bit flat, a wee bit tired today, Liverpool. But I just don't want to talk anything else. The Newcastle, the levels they performed. I mean, Joe Linton was all over the park, covered every blade of grass, and he was celebrating tackles like he was scoring goals at times, and that lifted the fans. And I don't know, Mark, you can't say anything negative with this Newcastle team. I mean, to see the engraver on the trophy do that was just something special as well.
So the final question for the lads, I wanted 3 words off them, and I want you guys who are watching this documentary to put it in the comments down below. 3 words how you would describe Newcastle United's trophy win.
Emotional, joyous, unbelievable.
Extraordinary, emotional, joyful.
Magical. Unfathomable. Legends.
So there you have it, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this documentary that I've put together for you all. Big thank you to Andrew, Jonny and Joe. Savour the moment, because we're back. We've won a trophy for the first time domestically for 70 years. I'm going to leave you with a song. Don't you know, pump it up. Newcastle's won the cup. Don't you know, pump it up. Newcastle's won the cup.